Hello, Sally Ann Ferguson. How are you? Welcome to Your True Self YouTube channel. And I'm just really grateful that you've got some time to spend with me talking. Sally Ann is the co-founder and CEO of InnerOrigin, which is an amazing Australian business that's been set up to address people's health and well-being and supporting local Australian businesses as well while supporting people's health at the same time. So it's quite a concept that you came up with. And so I just want to thank you because it's a big chunk out of your day and I know how busy you really are all the time. And so I'd love to know a little bit more, and if you could let the listeners know or watchers know, viewers know a bit about yourself and where you came from and how you got to where you are now.
Oh, that's a big journey. About 42 years to cover then.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Deb, and welcome to all your listeners. And very excited for this YouTube and podcast and everything you're putting together, because what you share with people is just incredible. So I'm always admire the work that you do. Mm-hmm. And I would love to share a little bit about where we've come to here today and the journey of how I got here. So I guess if we're to start sort of looking at that aspect of health and wellness and well-being, like where did that journey ignite for me? I grew up very much probably like most other families around Australia. We were healthy or thought we were healthy, go to the gym all the time. And, so I was fit, played a lot of sport, so did my brother, my sibling. And definitely my parents would have thought they were feeding us healthy, no doubt. So nothing intentional of not, depriving our diets or anything. And then when I was about the age of 25, my brother was actually diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer. He had a type of cancer at least 4 people in the world have ever had. He had over 400 tumours across both his kidneys. Certainly not making any health claims, just sort of explaining the journey of how, my practices have landed where they landed. Yeah. And that was a real shock to the system. It wasn't anything that was expected. And certainly, searched high and low, both locally, internationally, some of the top, clinics and things in the world. And there were really no answers for his situation. Mm. And this was sort of just prior social media coming to life. So I think it was, maybe Facebook and that were just getting started. So the internet was there, but certainly information wasn't readily accessible as it is now in terms of, wellness, wellbeing, natural, things that you can look at. So long story short, he ended up embarking on a healing path that was under a professional institute, and it definitely, incorporated a lot of detoxification and organic adoption and cutting out nasty toxins and chemicals. That's keeping it very short. It's a very in-depth process. Yeah. But that really inspired me to then be looking at, okay, what's in products that we are using. Interestingly enough, even at school, I studied food technology, so I must have had a passion, a bit of an interest there, and actually topped the state or the country in that, even in my HSC. So there was a deep passion there, and but it wasn't until that happened with my brother that I really started looking at things differently. And so I'd walk through supermarkets and start picking products up off the shelf, and I then started looking for what could be classed as sort of very nasty, toxins and chemicals. And I realised that, a lot of our products were full of things that probably weren't in our best interest or best benefit. Yeah. And I think science didn't really have an understanding of what were these things doing to us. And it was a very explorative stage of where we were at in society. But I know certainly, myself, my family, we'd all made a commitment, in supporting my brother to remove all this stuff from, our house, our lifestyle. And certainly then I would deem that we're probably looked upon as pretty weird, to be quite honest with you.
Forward thinking, I like to see it as.
Forward thinking, yeah. So, when I think about it, gosh, that was over 15 years ago, and time does go fast, but back then it was, anyone who's sort of embracing that aspect of wellness, it wasn't really the norm.
No.
Whereas now, I think if you fast track like these 15 years, it's becoming a lot more normal conversation of people choosing organic or looking at products and, you know, especially in their personal care, wanting to cut out, you know, sort of some nasty toxins and chemicals. And, you know, I think, you know, science is still out there debated, like what's the impact, but I think people are generally making a choice to live cleaner. You know, that's just a good thing to do, right? So products are improving themselves. I think manufacturing is improving. This is becoming more widespread, and as demand increases, products are getting better and cleaner for us. So, you know, and then we have InnerOrigin, which you mentioned, you know, which was born, you know, about 4.5 years ago as a result, you know, partially, especially from my end of the journey that I've been through with my brother and my family, and there was a bit of a frustration in not being able to easily access products that were fitting what I would call that quality. And so we created InnerOrigin to be a place that people could shop and know they were buying, you know, good wellness products, quality products that were vetted, you know, for that level of quality. So that's been a pretty exciting journey and certainly something I'm really passionate about.
Oh, I do like the vetting because as a mum, it takes a lot of time to go shopping otherwise if you're looking for all those ingredients. And quite honestly, sometimes you don't know what it is that you're trying to avoid. And as a mum that's getting older, so is my eyesight. And I can't read the labels now. I was there the other day going, is it my left eye or my right eye? Which is worse? So I appreciate someone else having a look at that. And I think you know, you talk about the science and whether the science is behind it. You know, coming from that sort of background and that health background where science is everything, I think sometimes we're also forgetting that our body's trying to tell us something, or our intuition's trying to tell us that what we're having right now isn't working for us.
Yes.
Yeah. And I know that
I agree.
You know, I never believed in detoxing because I was the same as you. I thought I eat well. I've always been, you know, aware of my eating habits and not, well, I love food, but what I choose, I ate a lot of. So people were always surprised at how much I actually ate. But it's because I usually chose the right sorts of food so you could eat more. And But once I actually thought, no, I will go through a detox, you know, trusting that what was being put out there was a really good one. And the difference was amazing. And then obviously, because it's not really an area that's covered really in our sciences, in our health sciences,
anywhere.
In my nursing background,
not
they didn't
school,
talk about that, not in medicine, you know, none of that is, it's a very old, you know, here's the food pyramid and that's about it. Nothing else goes along with the health and well-being of people. So what was your original background?
Detox and cleansing. I'm the same. You know, to me, it's normal now, right? Like you know, 2 or 3 times a year, I'm doing a 28-day renewal, whatever it might be. And, you know, eating a diet that allows my body to have a bit of a break and allow it to digest and cleanse properly, and supporting it with the right superfoods to cleanse and detox. Yeah. And I think it's only after you do one of those, how you feel after it, that you then realize, oh, what must be in the products that I'm, you know, eating or consuming or surrounded by day to day? Because you feel like sparkly new, probably, you know, like a car that's just come out of service. And you just have this different energy, and actually you stop craving a lot of the things that you might have been having prior to that or before that, and you start to feel, you know, the benefit of just having that bit of a clean out. So I'm definitely a fan.
and you know, I think the weight loss is the byproduct of it, and I know most women are always doing these sorts of things for a weight loss, but not realizing what the foods they're eating quite often, or the levels of stress that they're experiencing, are increasing the cortisol, which then leads to an increase in weight no matter how much you go to the gym and exercise, which is another form of stress. You know, if it's something that you're pounding away at all the time, and it increases your cortisol, and then you're increasing your weight, or if you're at a weight that you're wanting to reduce, it just doesn't seem to shift because you're in that state of stress all the time, whether it be toxic stress from what we're eating and it's affecting our liver, and, you know, or emotional stress, or physical stress. So it really seems to link well with that. So you've got an interesting, you actually set up, or part of setting up Aldi when it arrived to Australia. So you've really got kind of a business background. Like,
it was kind of like a Yeah, it was a bit of a what would you say, almost like a perfect storm, because I was part of the early executive team with Aldi, so I got a really in-depth, close up look at retail and supermarkets. And hey, I always want to acknowledge publicly like what an amazing company they are. So when I did depart there, I felt like I was breaking a marriage, and I've always admired the way they run and operate, and always will. Forever to that day, I'm very grateful to the experience I got there and grounding, what have you. But yeah, it was interesting, like between, at school, I guess my two passion subjects were business and food technology. And then I studied business at uni, so majored in finance and marketing. And then, yeah, you're right, I took that role with Aldi. So I was there for about 6.5, 7 years, something like that. And actually, I left there purely because ever since I was born, when I say I was born, maybe I was one or something, since I can't remember, I had wanted to work for myself. Growing up, my dad had his own businesses, and I was brought up around that entrepreneurial spirit, even in, extended family. And so growing up around conversation of business was really normal to me, and I think there's always an element of, kids when they're young learn by observing and listening. And certainly I feel really fortunate that business was never scary to me, in that like terminology, conversations, like just observing, your parents, in their own business or whatever, you do learn things. So when that and that was a hunger that was in me, I had this dream of not being limited by anything, like just being able to pursue my own potential in an unlimited landscape. And I always knew that I could probably really only do that by having my own business. And so that was actually the reason that I left Aldi. It was nothing of, probably would stay there forever otherwise. It was it was like there was this music in me that I knew wouldn't be sung if I had have stayed. So that's what initially made me leave. And then I went out looking for my own businesses. And incidentally, whilst I was in the process of that, my brother was diagnosed with his condition. So when I look back on it, it was really timely that it wasn't my reason for leaving, but within a very short window of time, it was like bang, bang, that happened. And so actually I went and worked in the family business because family was so caught up, in my brother's challenge. That it just seemed it was the right thing, and I could really help and have impact there. So I ran that business really for probably the next 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And then here is InnerOrigin's. So
funny how things work out and times work out, and I think the universe really steps in without us realizing, to have that business background, and then if that was a passion of yours, but then you kind of had these two that you could blend. And I think if we don't allow stuff to flow, you don't know where, you're kind of forcing those two almost apart, and then they blend beautifully together.
You've got to listen to your intuition. Like it's so important. I look back at that moment of me leaving that role, and, I disappointed everyone around me, like even family, that they're like, you've got a great job. And my people I reported to in that company, and I know they were shocked, probably couldn't understand it. Nobody could understand why I was doing what I was doing. And I said, I'm not unhappy. There's nothing that's unhappy with me in this job. There's just, I'm only here for a certain time on this planet. And there's like this dream in me, and I have to go and explore that. And everyone would say to me, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know. Like, respectfully, I feel that you close a door before you open another. And I want to give myself that respect as well, to finish here, do a really good job finishing up. And then I will open my mind to what sort of business I want to go into. I don't want to give that thought right now till I finish what I'm doing here. So that was the process I went through, and I'm so grateful for that. Certainly having your own business isn't for everyone. It's a journey and a half, and probably a discussion for another day. But it is, I'm living my dream. Like, I'm living what I wanted to do. So whether it be a problem or a challenge or a great thing, whatever happens in the day, I asked for it. Like, I wanted to do this. So, I can at least wake up every day and say, I'm living my dream.
Yeah.
And, that's really important.
Yeah. And I think some people believe living the dream, and as a friend of mine often says, living the dream is different to everyone. And it's not necessarily about owning 10 cars and having a mansion somewhere. Living the dream is, what is it that's calling you from the inside? And it could be, just living on a little shack in the back of nowhere, but that is the dream and life that you're supposed to have. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're loaded, that you're, got 20 Porsches in the back somewhere or whatever. And
I think if you chase that, that's a lifetime of unhappiness anyway. If it appears from what you do, great, and use it in the right way. But I think success in life, it's not a one definition. It's as you said, it's like it's what you want in your life. There's plenty of as within Origin, like surrounded by so many mums, and between 1 to 6 kids or whatever they have, and like I'm just in admiration of what they do and achieve in a day, and just the craziness they have every day, and how do they wake up every morning and just have that energy to like get through the day. Many are also going to work, like just this massive juggle and managing everyone's emotions and what they need out of life. Like it's just a task and a half. But you know what? That's dreams being fulfilled as well, and that's success. Like I look at that and go, don't want for more. Like that's success right there. Like if that's what you wanted in your life and you're doing it well, like amazing. Be so happy with what you're doing.
Yeah. And it definitely is a challenge, and trying to keep the energy up. If you've got purpose in the day, it keeps you going, and certainly if you've got the right fuel for the body, it keeps you going better.
Definitely.
Because obviously we've got, the way we are made up, most of our happy hormones are actually produced in the gut. So addressing that's so important. So as a female, and I know that we have different challenges definitely than men, and especially in the area of business. What do you think were your biggest challenges, and what do you think your own self-belief or limiting beliefs have you like have arisen, or you've overcome, or what along the way?
Really, really, really good question. So the first thing I'll address is because people often ask me this is like, have you found business different as a woman? And I'd have to say no, but one, because I've never been a man. So but the other thing is I've never felt not regarded the same as a man. I don't know whether that's just been luck or whether that is through maybe the way I've handled myself, or I've just never walked into a room and expected to be treated differently. And I think as a result, I never have been. I've whether it be like walking into a meeting or a boardroom or whatever, I don't walk in feeling disadvantaged. And so I've actually never experienced it. And, maybe, when I look back on it, when I grew up, I grew up with a lot of boys, like in the area, and on weekends and that, I'd be playing football and cricket and everything with them. So maybe it was also, I'm very comfortable around, I've never felt out of place then, so maybe that's just carried through in my life. So for one, I haven't felt disadvantaged. I definitely probably, like a lot of women, have always had trouble asking for my value. But I don't think that's ever come from a thing of being disadvantaged. I think it's, and look, men can have that problem too, but I certainly think women are more often like prepared to do because it's, got to be done. And I don't know, often we don't think about our value. Like we give value and don't think about our value. And so that's something I've really had to work on over the time, is like, what's my value, and not being afraid to ask for that value, and realizing where that value comes into place. But certainly, if I was to say like, what have been the challenges and the growth experiences and risks and things that you've had to take on. I actually had my first business when I was 20, probably not quite 20. Oh yeah, about 20, let's say. So what happened was I left school and I was studying uni, and I was working part-time job at a local pub. And I ended up like becoming like a duty manager, assistant manager at that pub really quickly, which was great. And they gave me full-time jobs. I was doing full-time job, full-time uni. And we took it was such, again, great learning curve. Like, we took it to Sydney's #1 pub, and for a few years running. And anyway, long story short, I went through a process where someone tried to like break and enter and hold the pub up, and it was just me and a security guard there. And so anyway, I was young, and it did freak me out a little bit. And so, a month or two later, I just sort of thought, look, I think this isn't for me. I was getting close to finishing my degree, and again, had that music in me, want to have my own business. So I left there. And I went and said to my dad, can I come and work for you in your company? And he turned around and said, no. And
Dad, you're so
like,
mean.
best lesson ever, yeah. And, I wasn't happy with that. And I said, why? And he said, because if you work here, you're only going to learn what I know. And my wish for your life is that you learn and know and do more than what I know. So you need to go work other places and learn from other people. Like, you've observed me a lot of your life today. I don't want you limited by me and what I know and do. So I didn't understand that at the time, and I wasn't really happy about it. So that was in the window finishing industry. So I went and bought a vertical blind machine. It cost me about $700-800, and I set it up we lived on 5 acres at a barn, and I set it up in the barn at home. Went and bought a sewing machine. And I started dropping flyers around the local area, like at house and land development areas, and started going out. And because I'd grown up in the industry, I'll figure this out. And started going out doing quotes and like measuring blinds, and went to all my dad's suppliers and opened accounts with them. Like, it had to be COD because it was just me. But anyway, and then so a couple of times, of course, I'd be quoting against some of his reps and things, and I had no overheads. I'm operating out of the barn at home. So anyway, business like took off quite well, and so 6 months, to a year later, I wanted to buy a house. And I went to the bank and said, can I get a loan or whatever? And they turned around and said, you needed at least 2 years of P&Ls to be able to get a loan in your own business, like to buy a house. Again, I was not very happy with that at all. And I thought, how am I going to do this? Because I want to buy now. So I thought, well, I better get a job like for, the next 3 or 6 months, because I think you needed 3 pay slips or something at the time. I was like creatively thinking how I can do this. So I literally opened the paper, and there was an ad, and it said it was looking for people who like had a business degree. It was a new company coming to Australia. There would be extensive training and whatever else. And I'm like, it was the only ad I saw. It didn't have a brand name on it. Only thing that stood out to me. And I was like, oh, I'm literally finishing my business degree right now. Training. Dad had said I need training from other people. Maybe I'll buy here. Anyway, it turned out to be Aldi. So, that's how that happened. And anyway, then I got into it. Obviously, it lasted a lot longer than 6 months to a year. But that passion from having had my own business like kept staying there. And I was like 6 years down the track, and I kind of thought, I only ever came here because I wanted to buy a house. And I'm still here. So I need to go back to what I really wanted to do. And so then, but you know what, business is, it's challenging, especially when I went back to run the family business. We were very stressed from, there was this not knowing of my brother. I guess there were a lot of times there that, especially in my mind, I was young and doctors' diagnoses were not good. There was facing a reality that he may not, be here. So I was kind of dealing with that grief and balancing all of that, yet trying to find answers for him and run this business at the same time. And when you've got to wake up in business every day or every month and produce a certain amount of sales to make sure everyone's paid, and it's high pressure, really high pressure. And when you've got all this else going on in your personal life, it was just all consuming. And that was 8 years of the biggest pressure really of my life, because it was family pressure nonstop, and it was business pressure nonstop. And I look back on that as probably like a huge achievement, because it's easier to achieve when things are going like really well, but when you can have resilience to just every day step back in and go, okay, I'm in for this. This is not smooth. Nothing was smooth. And there were huge expenses around what we had to do for him. Yeah. And so the business had to be funding that as well. And, so it was just an enormous ask every month, to back up, and business had to produce or everything would have fallen apart, so there's, that was definitely challenged, and I was exhausted from that. And then I just took a little bit of time to say, well, I do want to be in business, but I want to do something that's igniting my passion. That industry wasn't igniting my passion. Then I've learned about toxins and things, and I was like, okay, this isn't where my heart is.
No.
So that's where, then InnerOrigin came around, obviously, met a great co-founder. And I think with the family business, I had big dreams and goals, and I executed some of them. But I stopped on it, right? So I was exhausted, and I decided to step away and into a different industry. And then it was the one thing when I came into this, because I was like, well, I'm not setting a limit on this. Like my brother's doing well. He's in a good place now. Family's doing well. This is my time. Like, this is my time now to go for my dreams and not set a limit on myself. Whereas I definitely imposed limits on myself in the business previously. I didn't think big enough, and I got stuck in this hard rut, like, this needing resilience and persistence, and I wasn't in a thriving mode. And so I wanted to, in this business, bring like that thriving mode and a limitless. And we dared to dream big, and I honor, co-founder so much for that, because he always really encouraged that dreaming big and dreaming to the point that people might think you're a little bit crazy, when you're just starting up a new business. And, we're saying, we're going to build this globally. Like, this is going to all countries, and like, people would think you're mad. You just started a new business.
Little Australian business. What are you doing?
Yeah. And wrote the dream list of people that we'd like involved in it, and, all of those things. And that daring to dream is the one thing I would say to anyone listening on this call. It doesn't matter what you're doing in life, dare to dream, because people will judge it and people will squash it. Like, very few people are going to listen to your dream and go, yes, go you, like, you can do that. And I would just say 99% of us never have courage to, one, dare to dream, but even have the courage to speak the dream, because we're worried about judgment and people thinking we're crazy or we can't do it, or just because they're thinking small. Don't let that dim your light, because you can do whatever you want to do here in this lifetime.
Totally. And that fear of judgment is so big, especially for women, that fear of judgment. What are they going to think about me? There's a lot going on now at the moment where people might think that there's, certain people are crazy, and that fear of judgment is such a stopper for so many people to keep moving on.
It is. And you have to move through it, because no one knows what you know but you, right? No one knows your circumstances but you. And you've got to believe in yourself. And I know, Deb, you're amazing at this. I always say to people, the biggest gift you can give to someone is to believe in them until they can believe in themselves, because so many people struggle to get to that point of believing in themselves. But when you can believe in yourself, you move into this like dangerous space of not caring what anyone thinks. You're like, you know what? I've got my own back, and I'm my own best friend, and I can, I've got this. It doesn't matter what anyone thinks. I know I've got this. And that's when you're in a whole different level of operation and empowerment, and I think even happiness. Like, you can it's freedom, it's mental freedom, it's everything. You've only got to look in the mirror at the end of every night, and as long as the reflection's staring back at you, you can say, I've done my best, I've treated people the best I could, or I could. If you can do that by your own values, then go to bed peacefully and don't worry what anyone says, thinks, does, talks, because you're only going to hold your life back. And then I always think, you know what, if I'm 100 and, I've only got days to live or whatever, and I look back, what am I going to think of this very moment that I let the thought of someone having a judgment or opinion about me held me back from being everything I could be? I don't want to have that regret.
Yeah,
because they're not going to be there when I'm 100. They're not going to be there judging my last days.
No.
So don't let them judge now.
They're not the ones judging. Yeah. And I look at, some of those people in history that have stood up and spoken out and been, called crazy or even burnt at the stake. That's what happened with women so much, witches supposedly literally burnt at the stake. And it was only a couple of hundred years ago, not even I think maybe 140 years ago, that the last woman was burnt at the stake. But, if we didn't have those sorts of people standing out and not fearing that sort of judgment, we probably wouldn't progress to the places that we are now, almost like the revolutionists that are standing up for people's own rights and freedoms. If you were worried about people, what they were thinking, all of that would be lost.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got to admire anytime someone, stands up and voices, because, they're stepping out of fear, they're stepping into courage. And even if you don't agree with what they're saying, like you say, I'm like, wow, I'm just in admiration, because you've broken through that fear barrier. You're happy to, shine a light, shine an opinion, whatever that might be, and give total credit to that. And we do need that in the world right now. Even in our origin, the time it was created, I think it was, and it still is. It's disruptive, and it's educating from a place where still the masses don't understand. And so that even takes courage. And I think that you've got to do what's true to you, and eventually things, gain momentum, and as you said, change takes place, revolutions take place.
Yeah, totally. I agree. That's awesome. And so in regards to, belief systems, and you're looking at fear and, fear of judgment and our own, and you growing up, not, you walk into the room and you're not worried about what the men think. Now that isn't the same for everyone. And I think we often get that what we put out attraction wise is what we get back in. So if we're not putting out that energy, that will change. What do you think in regards to our health and our beliefs? What have you, your brother went through a massive journey. He was having people tell him your chances are almost nil, can't deal with it. What do you think about belief and health?
Yeah, there was not a doctor he went to that said he had a future, and that was the best of the best in the world. And it wasn't until he walked into that one, natural healing clinic, and before they even said anything, he shares his story, and he got into it probably see for you one day, but he shared a story that he walked in there and just walking through the front gates, and interestingly it was in Mexico, and so he says it's in Tijuana, and it's there's all these big security gates up front and everything. And he says it's not the most inviting looking place, but as soon as the gates opened, he felt this energy of I'm home, I can heal here. He said it was almost instantaneous. And, I think that's a belief, isn't it? It's like trusting your gut. And, people are dealing with all sorts of things out there, but I do think if our mindset and our belief is not in a good place, then we're not supporting the rest of the journey, like the healing or whatever. It plays a huge role in anything that we do. If the belief's not there, what chance do we really have? And I guess there's that difference between a belief and getting to full faith and trust and knowing, even in wellness, but in business as well. I've been challenged over the last 10 years at various times where I've had to get to that point of faith, and literally handed my problems over to whatever you want to call it, universe, God, whatever. I know everyone out there has a different, whatever they speak to, talk to. And whereas belief, I'm okay, I've got this. And there have been a couple of times where I've literally gone to bed and said, this is what I need. This is why I need it. I'm handing it over. I'm actually going to relax about this because I can't. I'm kind of realizing my own limitation here, but I've got faith that this is going to happen. Or, and I kid you not, every time I've done that, it's happened.
Yeah.
And it's testing the faith has proven to me that it's okay to have a knowing, to get yourself into that place, and that things will always work out for the best. If you're putting in the effort if you're doing all the work, whether it be on your health and, well-being, or, business or a task with your kids or whatever, sometimes handing the worries over is a really good thing to do as well.
Yeah.
But definitely belief in what you're doing. There's so much, mixed information out there now, and we can get so confused with what paths we choose for ourselves. I mean, even as you said, like literally in today's time, how confusing is all the information out there, on social media and TV and this, that, the other. Like, you go crazy trying to work things out. You've just got to trust yourself, I think, a lot of the time. It's the fear and doubt that comes in, isn't it? And I think taking away doubt, how do you get to that place of not doubting? And that's a different journey for everybody. So I always work on it, that I sit and say to myself, okay, what aspect of this am I doubting? And analyzing that, like analyzing the doubt gap. And then saying, okay, so what do I need to find out to remove that doubt? Or what do I need to do to remove that doubt? So I at least have enough self-awareness that I say to myself, I don't want to have doubt. So I'm not going to, what's the point in sitting with doubt for the next 12 months? Let's resolve that. Either get to a point that, yes, I fully believe this, or no, I don't. But do the work to resolve the doubt gap. And that's what I do, rather than sitting in kind of no man's land about it. I mean, I actually haven't told anyone really this, but I'll tell you, because you asked a question about like judgment and whatever. Yeah. The last few months I've been going to like IVF cycles because, I'm 42, and with the businesses and everything, I probably kind of, a bit naive. I wasn't sort of focused on that area of my life at the time. And then I'm like, oh God, like, the whole clock thing.
Yeah,
has really set in. And then I realized that actually I've left it almost not too late, but almost, and the education really wasn't there, that I should have done something about that when I was 30, 35. But anyway, that's another story. And so embarking on that journey, and at first I went in really naive to that. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to freeze eggs and then I'll think about it, the right partner will come in. And then that's all come up very quickly to be like, well, actually, that's probably not the best path to be taking. If I want to do this, it's kind of like, do it now and do it fully. So then you're down the path of looking at things like, donors and all sorts of things. And all of a sudden, this is in my face of, okay, judgment. This was not what I expected for myself when I grew up. What would my family think? What would their friends think? Like, I wasn't so worried about myself, more judgment of other people coming in.
Yes.
And so even just in the last few months, that whole cycle has come up in a different way of like fear, judgment. I'm most likely going to be doing something in a fairly unique way that's not at the masses level totally accepted yet. Like, it's definitely out there, but not at a masses level. And I've had to really work through that. One, the doubt thing, getting myself to a place of belief, and two, getting to the place of, well, I don't care what anyone thinks. Like, this is my life. I'm really happy with what I've been doing, and just go for it. Don't worry what anyone else thinks. So I think so many times in life that pattern comes up, and we've got to build the skills and the tools to actually work through it, because it's like a systematic way of resolving it in yourself. It doesn't matter what the thing is. It's the same system to move through it and resolve it.
Yeah. And I see you as probably that, 1 or 2 out of 10 women that work actually quite well in that realm of going through it in a systematic way, whereas a lot of women, probably the 8 or 9 out of 10 find it hard to work through that way. And I guess that's where that creatrix side of things comes in, that we can just eradicate that. I mean, it works on all women, but some women can work through it the way you do. And I know I've got a few friends like that, so we're not all completely the same, but the majority of women, and that might be because you were surrounded a lot more by the men. I grew up in a family of females, and so we're that emotional way of dealing with things, and then that's not necessarily the best way. So to actually, eradicate it and work with those beliefs and things. But, when you say you got to 42 and you're in that position, and I just think it's interesting how what we ask for often comes about. So, you weren't really asking for it because you weren't ready for it. But I always said I wanted to have 3 kids by the time I was 40. What I really meant was I wanted kids before, maybe 35 or something. But and literally I was pretty much due with my 3rd child for my 40th.
Yeah, there you go. See, Yeah, and I think we do so often if we dare to speak it. So we'll come back to like one, dare to dream, but have the courage to speak it. Like I think speaking it, writing it down makes a whole lot of difference. And then let it go. Just do the work, live your life. Know you're intentionally kind of staying on that purpose and path. So many times it appears. Like how often does it appear? And that's why I say too, like once you go through that process, let it go. Let the worries go, hand it over. Like get into that place of belief and faith and knowing and, live your life, be intentional on it coming true. But, let the worry go.
Yeah. And I think if you have trouble doing that on your own, seek the help, because there are amazing people out there that can help work through the beliefs and get you through the different kind of levels of awareness. And, I know I went through a lot of different ways and coaching and, modalities and stuff. But for me, the only one that worked fully was going through the creatrix process, because it is so designed for women. But whatever it is and whatever level you get to, and it might take you 4 or 5 years to get to that accepting that level, but just keep working the way through it, and it will keep improving.
And that is an amazing process. And, as you've said, I think a key is to find someone who believes in you, because not everyone will. And as we mentioned earlier on, like there's 95% of people that are going to doubt whatever you're doing, and they add doubt. They make the journey harder. I remember when my brother was embarking on what he chose as his healing program, so many family, friends, on top of all the doctors that said it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And family friends that said it wouldn't work. And I remember ringing some of them and saying, I know you're saying this out of care and concern, but let's look at the reality. He doesn't have any other options. So all the things you're thinking, he's been and explored that, and everyone has said, not possible, that's not going to work. So now you're trying to put doubt and kill his belief in the only option he has. So like, think about what you're actually doing. And I know you're coming from a space of love and fear and all of those things, but the gift you can give him, he believes in it, believe in him.
Yeah.
For him. Give him that energy. Like it costs you nothing.
No, exactly.
So
it's amazing.
Ever since then, I always think, go and find someone to believe in you. Someone will. There's always someone out there. There's you, Deb. Like you're going to believe in, if anyone comes to you and says, I want to do this, I want to do that, you're going to give them that. Like you know the value of that belief.
Absolutely.
And believe in them until they can believe in themselves. And then once you've learnt that, then go and give that to someone else. Once you've learnt the value of it, go and give it to others. Because if we can spread that like a ripple effect around the world, this whole belief giving and people learning to believe in themselves, what a shift, like what a change. And it is. I was blessed. I grew up with parents that said all the time, you can do and be whatever you want to do and be. You're going to have to work really hard and you have to dream big, but you can do it. And why not do it? Like, and so was always brought up with that. And I am so grateful for that, because it became like a known skill to me. But, I think that we can all help each other a whole lot.
Yeah, totally agree. That's wonderful. Well, I think that's a really great note to finish on too.
Thank you.
Make sure we all go out and help believe in each other. And I do sort of focus more on women, because I guess that's where I am. But it's because we are so different. And as a family of me growing up in girls and me now having all boys, we are different, and we're meant to be different.
Yeah.
But we as women can be very cutting and putting each other down. And I just think if we can help believe in each other, we are the nurturers. And if we're nurturing each other, where are we going to go from there? Like the energy.
Yeah, I always think that too. Why put each other down? We've all got so much to work on in our own backyard. There's just no need for that. And, women have incredible gifts. We're so intuitive, and, our crazy emotions are a gift. Yeah. And, dropping into that is really important, but also learning how to balance it, let the emotions happen and then make the decisions when the emotions are gone. That's what I always do. I allow them to happen. I'm still a woman, and, the tears, the anger, the confusion, the whatever, it happens. Yes. And I allow it to work through me. What I don't do is I never make the decisions in that state.
Perfect.
Yeah, I might journal it. I'll journal how I'm feeling, but I will never make a decision in that state. And I've learned not to do that. And because it goes within a day or two, like that, those emotions are flowing through, balance comes back, and in balance, make your decisions. You can reflect on those emotions. They're going to help to absorb the balance. And, I think that I totally agree with you, like embrace our qualities, but support each other and like cheer each other on. It's not just a women's, I think it's a bit of an Australian thing, like that whole tall poppy thing. I've been lucky with business to travel a lot internationally, and it really doesn't happen overseas. Like in countries that I've been to work in, like of recent times, there's just like, yes, go you, like this is amazing. It's funny that here in Australia, we've got to take that out of our culture. We have the best culture, but that's the one thing.
That's one thing we need to chop out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree.
We've got to really celebrate each other's wins and be happy, like to see that person stepping out of their comfort zone and going for it. Like it's so great to see. So, yeah.
And then you're giving off a great positive energy, and then it just raises the whole vibration. So
it only comes back to you. Yeah. There's
Okay.
enough out there for everyone. So there's no need for like jealousy of someone's achievement or judgment of how they're doing it, or like there's enough business out there. There's enough great, whatever it is you're doing, there's enough for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no shortage, and that's what we need people to realise. So
well, thank you.
Thank you
love
for
what
your
you're
time,
doing.
Sally Ann.
My pleasure.
I just love all the products that are, for women as well that are on there, and the makeup, and being able to still feel feminine without having to use all the toxins, including like your perfumes, and which are crazy toxic, and the makeup, and I think as people can start to be aware of that, that's actually going to help improve their own feeling of well-being, which then leads to mental well-being and
emotional balance. Like it's amazing how just living a cleaner lifestyle, I hear so many testimonies of that coming in. I know it myself. Like if I've for some reason been away traveling or whatever, with business, I'm eating in the hotel, but my balance goes a little bit up. I can even feel myself being a bit more emotional or overtired or whatever, because my nutrition's not sinking in the same way. Living a cleaner lifestyle is a great choice. And as you said, cosmetics and things, 10 years ago, I would have said, sure, the chemical stuff looks better than the natural stuff. It's not true anymore. Natural science has come a really long way, and you can be totally pretty well nasty toxin free in all the products that you're using. And why would we choose to put that stuff on our body or in our body? We always say in Origin, like, are you experiencing your best life? And why not position it every single day to be experiencing your best life? And we need to fuel this vessel properly to be doing that. I'll leave you this one statistic. It's from the Australian government on their health website. A 2018 report, only 5% of Australians are consuming the daily required amounts of fruits and vegetables. 5%. So that means 95% of us, if you analyse that statistic, 95% of us are deficient, obviously, in vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, like all of those things. So if we're not giving our bodies the basic building blocks to perform, how can we expect to be living like a happy, balanced, vibrant life? So interestingly, just recently, actually, a 2018 report from the Australian government on their health website says that only 5% of Australians are getting their required intake of fruits and vegetables. I was really horrified by that, even being in this industry. I expected it to be higher. I was kind of thinking, 25, 30%, 5%. So it means that 95% of people are walking around, I guess deficient in vitamins, minerals, basic building blocks that our body needs. And I just feel it's an act of self-love, self-care to give ourselves at least the basic foundational things that we know we need to perform at our best. So we always say it in Origin, are you experiencing your best life? Like I look at that and I've got to say, okay, 95% of us are not even giving ourselves a chance at that, and just having the energy that we need during the day, giving ourselves what they need during the day. So, I think, this is an area that, we definitely need to spread the word and help people understand that there is a way to feel better, like these incredible superfoods that are out there, they shouldn't be replacing a good diet. They should be, added to what is a good diet. Everything starts with a good diet. But we are what we eat, we are what we absorb, and it plays a very big role in how we feel during the day, how we feel has a big impact on how we act around others, the energy we can give it, the motivation we have to do things, how we feel inspired, we feel lethargic. Like, why not try and feel good every day?
Yeah, I agree. I just, we are the ones, and I spoke to someone the other day on this channel, and we are the ones responsible for our health. It's it's great that we've got people out there that can help educate us. Like, the amount of information out there is fantastic compared to what when I went through, and the ability to find out what is classed as alternative that we can do for ourselves. But food's not alternative. Food is food, and I love food, but what I'm wanting to choose is the right food. So we are responsible for our own health, and we shouldn't have to always give it up to someone in a white coat.
And we are in a process a bit of unlearning. Like, I think, like our generation, Deb, like I don't know when it was, but like, let's say this industrial revolution came in and chemicals and that just started to come about, and soils are getting more depleted. Our produce isn't as nourished. People don't understand that. There's science now that's showing that organic produce has anywhere from 16 to 69% more antioxidant level. Like, that's powerful, right? On average, I think in a lot of situations, organic has more nutrition in it or whatever. But we didn't grow up through that change. It was kind of like already happening in our infant years. And so I think we've had a level of naivety. We're just like, we're buying things off the shelf and going, it's fine. It wouldn't be there if it wasn't fine for us. It wasn't giving us everything we needed. So it's like we have to reverse it and question things now and kind of reverse that unknowing to maybe, things were more nutritious in our grandparents' era, like before all of that industrial chemical revolution.
That's right.
And we've got to rediscover that knowledge now.
Yes. Yeah, we do. We need to. There's a lot of unlearning going on, and that's a challenge. Like, that's confronting as well. But I think there is a lot of unlearning that needs to happen. So thank you for helping with that unlearning and doing the new learning. And there is a lot of information that can be accessed, through blogs and, even
and people can reach out to you, right? Where can they find
Absolutely, on the originofwellbeing.com.
Okay, great.
And debcourtney.com. I've got links in there and contacts through there that people can access to me. I love health. I love teaching about health, whether it be food health, but the whole mind, body, spirit health, because you can't possibly care for someone without taking all of that into account. So so feel free to contact me. But I just love the accessibility of someone who is running an amazing company, and how approachable and accessible you are to those that are
thank you.
To learn more.
It's what we're all here for. I'd love to, and I'd love to come back again. So
yes, that'd be nice.
Different topics next time. All right.
I would love to have you on again. Thank you so much, Sally Ann, for your time. Thanks
so
for joining
Your
True Self, and I will see you soon.